Rachel walked into the vacant chapel with one objective: let her soul die before the agony consumed her body. She collapsed onto the cold stone, her nails clawing at her chest, trying to tear out the pulse that echoed like a raw, exposed nerve. "Just take it away," she screamed at the cross, her voice shredded by desperation. "I gave it all. I lost it all. And now I am nothing." The tears fell like rain, but they brought no relief. Only memories. Only shame. Only the brutal certainty that she had traded her soul for scraps of a love that was never real. "Make me stop feeling," she pleaded, trembling. "Turn me to stone, to ice, to anything that doesn't bleed anymore." The silence that answered her was deafening, because Jesus wasn't there to offer a sedative. He was there to reveal the one truth Rachel couldn't bear to hear: that her shattered heart didn't need to be fixed. It needed to be redirected. And what came next would detonate every lie she carried about what it means to love and be loved. Rachel wasn't born this way. There was a time she laughed loudly, danced barefoot, believed in happy endings, and looked in the mirror without feeling ashamed of what she saw. But then he appeared, and she made the oldest mistake in the world. She confused dependency with devotion and surrender with love. He didn't ask for her dignity on the first day. No one ever does. It happened slowly. A criticism disguised as concern. Jealousy sold as protection. A shout justified as passion. And Rachel? Rachel accepted all of it. Because at some point, she began to believe that loving meant emptying herself completely to fit the mold he designed. Friends who warned her were pushed aside. Family who begged were ignored. The voice inside her screaming, "Run," every single night was silenced. And when he finally discarded her like a worn-out pair of shoes, Rachel discovered something terrifying. She no longer knew who she was without him. Her faith? Destroyed. Her hope? Buried. Her dignity? Not even ashes remained. Now, kneeling in that cold, empty church, she didn't want emotional reconstruction. She wanted extinction. She wanted God to hit the kill switch that still made her feel. But Jesus wasn't there to erase anything. He was there to show her that the greatest act of transformative faith isn't to stop feeling. It's learning to love the one person she had completely abandoned, herself. And if Rachel had known what that truly meant, she would have run from that chapel. Because the healing that was coming wasn't comfortable. It was revolutionary. Can you truly love anyone else when you can't even remember what it's like to love yourself? What she learned in that church was the most selfish and revolutionary act of all. Subscribe. Your revolution starts now. Rachel remained there, frozen in the church's silence, waiting for an audible answer that never came. No thunderous voice from the heavens. No instantaneous miracle. Just the echo of her own ragged breath and the crushing weight of a question she didn't know how to answer. She rose slowly, her legs unsteady, and moved to the nearest pew. She sat down in a way that felt like collapsing, her shoulders bowed under the invisible burden of years, spent pouring herself out for someone who never saw her. That's when the memory returned, cruel and sharp. The first time he raised his voice, she justified it. He's just stressed from work. The first time he humiliated her in front of friends, she swallowed it. That's just his way. He didn't mean it. The first time he vanished for days, she begged for his forgiveness. For his forgiveness. As if she were the one at fault for his disappearance. Rachel buried her face in her hands, the shame burning hotter than the grief. Because the worst part wasn't what he did. The worst part was what she allowed. The worst part was looking back and not recognizing the woman who accepted crumbs as if they were a feast. She had become a shadow, an echo, a distorted reflection of someone else's needs. And now, without him, she was just empty. The days that followed were a blur of automated survival. Rachel would come home from work, lock herself in her apartment, and spend hours staring at her phone, waiting for a message that never arrived. She checked his social media compulsively, torturing herself with photos of him smiling next to someone new, as if Rachel had never existed, as if those years of total devotion were disposable. At night, she cried herself to sleep. In the morning, she woke with the same pain intact, like a wound that reopens at dawn. And in every lucid moment, one question haunted her. Why am I not enough? But the question itself was wrong from the start. One afternoon, Rachel returned to the church. Not because she had faith, because she had nowhere else to go. She sat in the same pew, looked at the same crucifix, and whispered with a broken voice, I did everything right. I loved with everything I had. Why wasn't it enough? And right there, in that thick silence, something began to shift inside her. Not an answer, a provocation. Rachel found an old receipt in her purse and a pen. With a trembling hand, she started writing a list she had never made before. Everything she had given up for him. The friends who truly loved her. The career she could have chased. The dreams she shelved because they didn't fit the future he planned for them. A future that never really included her. Her laugh, her opinion, her will, her taste in music, which he called tacky, the clothes she stopped wearing because he said they drew too much attention, the places she stopped going because he didn't like them. Rachel stopped writing when she realized the list covered both sides of the paper. And then came the revelation that tore everything apart. She hadn't lost herself when he left. She was already lost while he was still there. The pain she felt now wasn't from his absence. It was from her absence. It was the grief for a woman she had buried alive, willingly, believing that this was love. Rachel folded the paper, clutched it to her chest, and let the tears fall. But this time, they were different. They weren't tears of longing. They were tears of mourning. She was finally crying for herself. In the days that followed, something strange happened. Rachel started doing small, almost silly things that felt like acts of rebellion against the person she had been. She played that tacky music he hated, and she danced alone in her living room, awkward but whole. She called a friend she hadn't spoken to in 3 years. The friend answered, and cried with her, and didn't judge her, and said, I've just been waiting for you to come back. She bought an outfit she wanted, not because it was discreet or appropriate, but simply because she liked it. And every night, before falling asleep, she looked in the mirror and tried, with a shaky voice, to say a phrase that felt impossible. I deserve more than this. At first, the words sounded false, mechanical, empty, but she kept saying them. Because somewhere deep inside, Rachel was starting to grasp something revolutionary. Healing wasn't about learning to not need anyone. It was about learning not to get lost in someone. It was about reweaving the fabric of her soul, thread by thread, where each thread was a choice to choose herself. And the most frightening part? The more she found herself, the less she missed him. The less she checked her phone. The less she stalked his feed. The less she mentally begged for a reunion that she now realized she didn't even want. Because for the first time, Rachel was beginning to understand that the love that heals doesn't come from the outside. It comes from within. But she hadn't hit bottom yet. The most painful part of the journey was still ahead, the liberating act of forgiveness. And the forgiveness she needed to grant wasn't for him. It was for herself. One night, alone in her room, Rachel took out that list again. She read every item, every piece of herself she had handed over, every fragment she had sacrificed. And then she did something she never imagined. She wrote a letter, not to him, to herself. Rachel, I am so sorry. I'm sorry I believed you weren't enough. I'm sorry I let someone convince you that you had to be smaller to be loved. You deserved more. You always deserved more. And I promise you now, I will love you the way you always needed to be loved. I will protect you. I will choose you. every single day. From now on, you are not alone, because I am here, and I will never abandon you again. Rachel finished writing, and something inside her broke, but not like before. This time, it felt as if the fortress walls were breached, not by an enemy, but by the dawn. She folded the letter, placed it under her pillow, and for the first time in months, she fell asleep without crying. And when she woke up the next morning, her shattered heart was still there, but it was different. It was starting to beat again. Not for him, for her. Here's the question no one wants to answer, but that changes everything. Are you willing to lose someone who is destroying you to finally find who you really are? 3 months later, Rachel stood in front of that same mirror, where for years she had only seen a distorted version of herself. But now she saw something else. Not a perfect woman, not someone who had overcome everything without scars, but someone who was learning day by day to exist without asking for permission. She had returned to the church that morning, not in desperation, not begging for an escape, but in silence, almost as one returns to thank a place that witnessed the beginning of a transformation. Rachel sat in the same pew, looked at the same crucifix, and for the first time, she asked for nothing. She just sat there, breathing, whole. And in that stillness, the final understanding arrived. Jesus had never been absent that first night. He was there, waiting for her to stop begging to be fixed and to start understanding that she was never broken. She was just lost. And every journey back home begins with one painful step, admitting you left it. Rachel closed her eyes and let the memory come, no longer as torture, but as a lesson. She remembered the girl she was before him, the girl who laughed too loud, dreamed too big, took up too much space, the girl who didn't apologize for existing. And then she remembered how, bit by bit, she had folded herself, diminished herself, erased herself, believing this was necessary to be worthy of love. The great lie. The lie that almost killed her. Because no one ever told Rachel the most liberating truth of all. You don't have to become smaller to fit in someone else's heart. You need to find someone whose capacity to love is big enough to hold your vastness. And before that, you have to be that someone for yourself. Rachel opened her eyes and whispered, almost like a prayer, "I understand." She understood that the love that heals isn't what fills the void. It's what teaches you that you no longer need to be filled from the outside, because you are already complete on the inside. She understood that emotional reconstruction isn't about going back to who you were. It's about becoming who you always should have been, if you had never believed the lies they told you about your worth. She understood that the shattered heart isn't a sentence, it's a beginning. In the months that followed, Rachel continued the journey. It wasn't linear. There were setbacks. There were nights she almost grabbed the phone to send that pathetic text. There were moments when the loneliness screamed louder than her reason. But she held on, because now Rachel had something she never had before, an unbreakable commitment to herself. She went back to school, not because someone approved, but because she wanted to. She enrolled in a course she had always dreamed of, but that didn't make sense in the relationship. She reconnected with her friends and realized they never judged her for disappearing. They just waited, and that was love too. A love that didn't demand sacrifice, only presence. She started going places alone. The movies, a cafe, the park. At first, she felt the pitying stares of people who saw a woman unaccompanied. But then she stopped caring, because she finally understood being alone and being lonely are two completely different things. And one afternoon, something unexpected happened. Rachel was in a bookstore, browsing, when someone approached and commented on a title. A man, kind, with an easy smile and eyes that demanded nothing from her. They talked for a few minutes. He asked for her number. She gave it to him. And when she got home, Rachel did something the old version of her never would have. She didn't obsess. She didn't build fantasies. She didn't start planning a future with a stranger just because he was nice. She simply let it be. They met for coffee, and it was good, light, no pressure. No twisting herself into pretzels to please him. No hiding parts of herself to not scare him off. And when he tried to move too fast, when he started showing signs of wanting exclusivity before it was earned, when he subtly suggested she should be more available, Rachel did something revolutionary. She said no, not with anger, not with drama, but with the clarity of someone who already knows the price of losing herself. "I'm not looking for someone to complete me," she said, her voice steady, meeting his gaze. "I'm already complete. I'm looking for someone to share with, not to save me." He didn't understand, and he left. And Rachel didn't cry, because for the first time in her life, she had chosen herself. And it wasn't selfishness. It was survival. It was dignity. It was a transformative faith in her own ability to discern what she deserved. That night, Rachel returned to the church one more time, but this time she entered differently. She wasn't on her knees. She was standing tall. And when she looked at the crucifix, she finally understood what Jesus had been trying to show her from day one. He never promised to take the pain away. He promised the pain would have a purpose. He never promised an escape. He promised resurrection. And resurrection hurts, because it's not about returning to the life you had. It's about dying to who you were and being reborn as who you were always meant to be. Rachel whispered, her voice firm and her eyes shining. "Thank you for not giving me what I asked for. Thank you for giving me what I needed." And then she walked out of that church, not cured, in the sense that she would never feel pain again, but healed in the sense that she now knew how to handle it. She knew that liberating forgiveness wasn't about forgetting what happened. It was about remembering it without bleeding. It was about carrying the scar as proof that you can survive the unbearable and still choose to love again. But this time, starting with yourself. Months turned into years. Rachel built a life that didn't depend on external validation. She thrived in her career. She cultivated true friendships. And yes, eventually, she loved again. But not in the same way. She loved with boundaries, with self-respect, with the awareness that true love doesn't require you to disappear for it to exist. And whenever she saw a woman with that look, she recognized that look of someone getting lost in the name of a love that destroys Rachel would stop. And she would say, with the authority of someone who lived it, "You do not have to erase yourself to be loved." And if someone is asking you to do that, it isn't love. It's a cage, because Rachel learned, in the most painful way possible, that the greatest act of faith isn't trusting that someone will save you. It's trusting that you are capable of rescuing yourself. And that the love that truly heals isn't the one that fills you up. It's the one that sets you free. And if you're wondering how to recognize when you're losing yourself in someone, maybe the answer is closer than you think. It is in that quiet moment when you look in the mirror and no longer recognize the person looking back. You know what I've realized after sharing so many stories here? There's a pattern in the people who truly transform their lives. They don't wait for the pain to pass before they act. They decide to learn from every story, every lesson, every experience that crosses their path. And you, who made it this far, who heard Rachel's story from beginning to end, you're already part of that group. You're someone who seeks more than just entertainment. You seek growth. And I want to continue this journey with you. Because every week, I bring stories just like this. Real stories of people who faced the impossible and found their way back to themselves. Stories that aren't just about other people. They're about you, about us, about the battles we all fight in silence. And if you subscribe to the channel right now, you won't miss a single one. Click that button below. It only takes a second, but that second could be the start of something much bigger in your life. Because when you subscribe, you're not just hitting a button. You're making a conscious choice to keep growing, to keep learning, to keep becoming the best version of yourself. And I promise you, every story that's coming will be worth it. Subscribe now and hit the bell, because the next story might be the exact one you need to hear. And since we're talking about love, loss, and reconstruction, there's a story I need to share with you right now. A story that will show you that the pain of losing someone we love can take us to places we never imagined possible. It's about a mother who lost her son in a way no mother ever should. He went out one night, and he never came back. And for years, she carried a guilt that consumed her from the inside. A question that wouldn't let her sleep. What if I had done something different that night? Until she did something that changed everything. She asked Jesus to let her go back in time, to relive that night, to have a second chance to stop what happened. And what Jesus showed her was not what she expected. It was something much deeper, much more liberating, much more painful, and at the same time, healing. This story will make you rethink everything you believe about guilt, forgiveness, and the power of letting go. Click on this next video right now. You won't regret it.